Hey there. What if I told you that one of the most iconic cities, known for its beautiful architecture, its incredible engineering, its fabulous location, began because of desperation, fear, panic? And what if I told you that those same things in our lives can likewise be transformed into something beautiful? Let's talk about it. Hey, I'm Leslie, and you are at Lost in Wonder. This is a place we come, ladies, and gather to be encouraged, to be reminded that we have experience, skills, qualities, wisdom that can't be kept to ourselves, that isn't meant just for us, and that we are made to be resilient. In the second half of life, ladies, let us encourage each other in ways to build curiosity, confidence, courage, and leave a legacy for those who walk behind us. Ladies, do you know that there's a city that people flock to, love to visit? I've walked there. Maybe you have as well. And yet it began when barbarians were knocking down the doors, burning cities, and the inhabitants had to escape. I mean, we've all had heartaches, and I hope no one has had something quite that desperate in their lives. But this was terrifying. This was horrible. This was beyond belief frightening. And the inhabitants had to run. Sometimes that's what happens in our tragedies. You see, tragedy presents us with the reality that we have options, and they're not all equal, and they're not all good, but we have them. And these inhabitants recognized they had to go. They could stay, they could try to fight, their option they chose was to flee, and flee they did. And when we get into tragic situations or difficulties, we also recognize that we need to act and make a decision with those options before us. So these Italian folks, sure enough, they opted to go somewhere that wasn't comfortable, wasn't their first choice, wasn't a place that they even thought they wanted to stay, but it got them away from the barbarians who were after them. So the options weren't great, but they did act. And another thing that comes out of heartache and tragedy is we need to practice being resilient and resourceful. And so that's what these folks did. Again, remember, they probably left with nothing. They grabbed their children, they grabbed their wives, they grabbed maybe a couple of things, threw on their backs, ran for their lives. And from that, they went to the swamps, went to the lagoons, and had to recognize, okay, we're here. The immediate threat is gone. Those who wanted to kill us are not coming after us, and they can't find us here. And what can we do to keep going and to survive? That was their initial facing, the initial things they had to come to terms with. We've gotten this far. We looked at our options. We ran. We decided to come into this part of Italy that's marshy and wet. And now let's look, what are our resources that we can work with? And more than that, how can we be resourceful because of what's here? Well, do you know that this is the beginning of the city of Venice, Italy? Did you guess that? Did you guess Venice? Out of the swamps, out of the marshes. Ladies, this is incredible. I hope you've been to Venice. I have fortunately been able to do that. I thank the Lord that I visited there with my daughter several years ago and had an incredible experience. And I'm telling you, I talk more about it in my book there, Lost with Wonder. Look for a link below. But it is a place to behold the beauty, the magical experience of meandering, of getting lost in wonder, of getting lost in those streets that wind around and go up and over the canals. And it is something to experience. Well, what about us? We don't have barbarians at our doors. We might have barbarians in our hearts, to be honest, though. We might have invaders that don't belong. And the same thing holds. Ladies, let's look at our options. What can we do? We can just be afraid, we can hide. Those Italians, those folks in Italy that were being chased could have done that, but they didn't. They chose to move and they chose to go somewhere that they had to continue making decisions about. So they had options, they made a decision, and they got resourceful and they kept doing it over and over because Venice was built over hundreds of years, but it was built. It was little by little. It took learning that, hey, we can drive these piles, these tree limbs into the ground, and guess what? They actually harden down in the mud. What? This mud that we wondered what the good of it was, and we track around and get sucked down into it. What? It's good for. So they started sticking piles, tree limbs, and trunks down into there. They learned a certain type of limestone that could be set on top of it for that foundational layer above the wood. They started learning. They kept repeating, what are our options? What are our resources? What can we do? How can we be resourceful? And from that humble, desperate beginning, Venice. Oh, I would say when you're done here with me and maybe done watching another video or two of mine, go look at some videos on Venice, which actually that's what helped prompt me. I watched a video about how Venice was built. And it was amazing. I didn't know the history. When I visited there, I mean, sure, they built it on water somehow. I don't know. And we did the gondola rides and we met all of that, but I didn't know this until I poked around and got curious, which ladies we talk about, right? Get curious. I wonder how that did happen in Venice. Why did they pick that place? Get curious. And I found that that is what the roots of Venice are from being attacked and run out of their comfort zones. They had to flee Rome, flee the invasions in the about 500, 500 AD. And that's where Venice comes from, out of fleeing refugees. They rebuilt. They didn't rebuild, they built. They created a place of wonder and beauty. And again, iconic beauty. Engineering that is still incredible. Hundreds and hundreds of years old, over 1,000 years old. Some of the pipes and underneath the workings that are down below the surface. Look into it. But beyond that, look into your own heart. How can you take the materials that have been heartaches, materials in your life, the experiences that have hurt you, experiences or memories, and how could you look at your options of changing those around, of making some decisions? Maybe you have to go somewhere that isn't your first choice, but it's better than where you are, and it keeps you moving ahead. And then keep practicing because you can't reiterate unless you iterate. So, again, I am so glad you stopped by. Get lost in wonder. Don't get lost in panic. Don't get lost in distress. Get lost in wonder. Look around and see how God has opened doors for you, given you equipment that maybe you haven't used or maybe you haven't thought about using. Take time, get lost in wonder, and I'll look for you next time right here